Hi, welcome back to my channel. So this is Leadership and Social Change Reflection number 5, and we're going to go right into it. So for question 1, I feel that a TV show that demonstrates commitment, the commitment portion of the social change model is probably, I've only seen, I just saw this for the first time a few days ago, but the Great British Baking Show. So I feel like the Great British Baking Show demonstrates commitment because all of those bakers and people who cook and bake food, they're all very committed to their passion, which is cooking and baking food. And that's in the sense of when they're on the show, they're all competing against each other. They're all trying going against the clock to try to make something grand. And there's a bunch of almost all of them go through ups and downs while they're trying to complete their product. Something doesn't mix right, something doesn't bake right. There's just a lot of accidents that go on, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And I feel like since they're so invested and committed to their passion of baking, they kind of roll with the consequences rather than they be good or bad. And they're very willing to take on constructive criticism when they're being evaluated by the judges. And they're always very they're always really, even though they are doing what they love to do, they're always willing to be able to accept the consequences of their actions in baking, especially on that show. Everyone's even if they lose, they're oh well, I might have lost, but I've learned so much, and I'm gonna take that back home and make myself stronger based on what I've learned here. And I feel like that's a lot of commitment. There could be people who wouldn't do that and who would kind of quit baking if they weren't committed, but these people are no, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna make myself better because of what I've learned. So I feel like that's a very that's being committed to baking, I guess, for the Great British Baking Show. So I guess that connects to leadership and social change. I guess in the sense that when it comes to leadership and social change, these people who are committed to baking, I guess that just demonstrates really good leadership. They're able to, bounce back from their fallouts, and they're able to kind of remain resilient when they fail. And that's that's a leadership, really good leadership characteristic to have. So yeah. So an organization here at Tech that I'm very committed to is probably SGA Flex, which is the first year leadership experience. And this commitment is important to me because Flex has really been able to help me find my sense of community here at Tech, as well as allow me to learn more things about myself and have me grow as a person, through being able to learn about who I am, what my strengths are, what my values are. Very similar to what I've been learning in the LSCRC. So it's important to me because I feel it helps me find more about myself, and honestly, I don't really always know about myself, if that sounds kind of crazy. But barriers that present challenges is commitment. We have meetings every Monday, once a week, and sometimes I feel I'm so swamped with work, I'm not able to attend these meetings. And also part of Flex, it's not just part of the meetings, but it's also being able to spend time with the people who participate in it outside of the meetings. And I feel I don't always take initiative to do that, and I really need to work on being able to get to know my friends from SGA Flex outside of SGA Flex. Strategies to support or enhance my commitment. I feel I just need to be more present during the activities that we do, and when we talk about leadership and we talk about our values and things like that. I just need to be present and be able to actively listen to the other people who are sharing their ideals. And I also feel just making time to be able to spend time with my friends outside of Flex, so I get to know them, I get to know another side of them, because we participate in a program, and that program is we are learning stuff and we're talking, but at the same time it's just kind of nice to get to know someone outside of that and be able to kind of experience things together that isn't structured, if that makes sense. We'll just be able to talk about random things instead of just talking about leadership, which I love. But there's more to a person than their leadership capabilities. So yeah, that's my answer to question 2. So for question 3, I honestly feel this was tricky, but I honestly feel the revolution will not be retweeted. Social media, even though social media and the internet, it's a great way to spread ideals, and it's a great way to be able to voice certain values and certain calls to action. I feel that the way that social media is set up, like people hiding behind screens. Like you can definitely get the word out there about something, but people, I feel like that's the only thing that people do. Like there's very few people that actually take action on what they find on social media. They'd rather just like click a button and like retweet or just like share a post or something like that. But that, I don't think that really, like, it's not as organizational as say like a revolution that's like more like person to person, like personal, like in front of you. Like I feel like having that personal connection is a lot more effective, especially like with revolutions, because it's something that's happening right in front of you and it's something that you can like do. You can do something like you can do something like more effectively when this revolution is right in front of you in person compared to just like reposting something on social media. And it also is like the structure of social media versus like revolutions in person. Like um ideas like can are not necessarily like, I don't know how to explain it. Well, it's kind of like how with social media there's less structure. Like there isn't necessarily a leader. It's just like people have the same general idea, but they also might not have like fully congruent ideas. So that kind of like causes conflicts. While with like revolutions that are structured and in person, normally there's like there's leaders and there's a hierarchy, and like there is a main idea that everyone is going towards that isn't confusing because everything is done in person. And it's just like it's more effective to do things in person than just like tapping something on a screen. So for question number 4, I do believe that achieving flow can definitely lead to increased happiness, but I don't necessarily always believe that it can lead to better leadership. So when it comes to flow, like flow is like when you're very engaged in your passion, you're very involved in it, and you're involved in it so much that you're like being like you're super happy. You're like super focused on whatever your passion is. You're very concentrated, and like because of that, you're achieving happiness, and then you're kind of like losing sense of time. So it's kind of like how people say time flies fast when you're having fun. It's kind of like how like you're so happy and you're so like in the moment that you just lose sense of time. So when it comes to flow, and like you're so involved in your passion, and like your passion is what makes you happy, like you just lose sense of time, and you're just so engaged, like you don't even like there isn't a care in the world that can like make you lose that happiness. So I feel like it definitely leads to increased happiness, but for leadership I feel like it depends. Like you can achieve flow when you're like if your passion is music and you're achieving flow by playing music and like growing yourself, like making yourself like better with through music, like your skills. I don't necessarily believe that can lead to like better leadership. It just leads to like better at playing music, if that makes sense. But if your passion is like governance, if that makes sense, I know that might be weird, but like if it's like that, like if you're very passionate about governing or like leadership in general, like like you're very happy and you're being the best person you can be, through leadership and like interacting with others. And I feel like through that you're able to become a better leader because you're engaging in your passion and you're achieving flow, being happy by inspiring others and guiding other people, if that makes sense. So that's my answer to number 4. So for question 5, I feel like when like ways that growth mindsets could go wrong is like especially like on the characteristic of like how when you have a growth mindset you're supposed to understand that like your potential is unknown and that there's always room for improvement and there's room to learn. I feel like if one could focus like a lot on like the room for improvement aspect of a growth mindset, in the sense that you would be like you wouldn't ever be content with where you are. Like you'll always be trying to make yourself better, trying to change for the better, and always try to develop yourself, with like and believing like if there's no end goal in sight, like there's no best that you can be, but there's always like a better, like you'll get stuck in this loop of like getting stressed out because you don't think that you're the best person that you can be or the best version that you can be. If that makes sense. So basically like you're gonna keep reaching to make you're gonna keep reaching to make yourself a better person, but the goal will always be further and further away. Like it'll always keep being far away because you always feel like there's room for improvement. So even though having a growth mindset is like really awesome, I feel like that continuous like development is a good mindset to have, but at the same time, one could get caught up and think that they have to continue to develop and like keep going, and that can just like really stress someone out because they're never reaching that goal of being the best person they can be, because there's always something better, if that makes sense. So that's the end. Hopefully I didn't go over time. If I did, it's okay. But that's a wrap, and if you're watching this in the day, hope you're having a good day. If you're watching this tonight, hope you're having a good night. I'm weird. Yeah, but thank you so much. Bye.